A beautiful beachside ride. A dramatic change of pace from the rapid renovations of the block.
I want people to feel wow.
Oh, wow.
The winner of week 4, Max and Carsten.
From highs to lows,
It just leaves me cold.
this couple manages to see the humour in every minute of the mayhem.
Just the stresses of pulling things together, managing all the trades, and
on top of that, sleep deprivation.
yeah,
And
your body just feels like it's dying inside by the end of it. Yeah.
They've made a commitment to renovating and to each other.
we may or may not have gotten
Married. Darling.
Which we'll see in an upcoming episode. Today, the Merriweather couple took a brief break from reality TV duties to launch next May's Port to Port International Mountain Bike Race, a 4-day event in which riders will take trails in Nelson Bay, the Vineyards, Lake Macquarie and Newcastle.
We do have some of the best riders in the world come along and test themselves as well, but the event's all about the local person coming and having a go.
Just another challenge for Max and Carsten.
myself and a few mates are definitely going to give it a shot.
And I'll give it a go
And
too.
Max with the basket on the front
I'll
of the
give
bike.
it a go.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
The change can occur, but trying to get the youth more involved in City Council.
With Billy Selesky still recovering from groin surgery, another setback for Ben Kantarovski was the last thing Newcastle needed. The coach, though, is positive the midfielder will be back within 4 weeks.
It's been a problematic situation with his knee. I think he had a little bit of floating tissue in there. It seems to have been very successful from the medical reports.
19-year-old Robbie Paratore got his first chance to impress Phil Stubbins today, as he began a 1-week trial.
A little bit nervous at the start, which was to be expected, and there's a bit of jet lag involved there as well. But look, it's a hard game, football. He's come in and not looked out of place, so let's see how he is at the end of the week, and we'll make a decision then.
The former Leicester City youth player will see game time when the Jets face the young Socceroos on Saturday. Alan Welsh will also play in that game, but the coach has warned the former Adelaide youth captain's best is yet to come.
Over the course of the transitional period for him to come into the A-League and the environment of full-time professional training, in 4 or 5 months we'll start to see where the boys' development's heading.
They saw an opportunity there to invest in Northern New South Wales and in Newcastle. So straight away, that barrier has disappeared in many regards. So I am talking to the head office every single day now.
For students at Mayfield East Public School, learning takes place as much outside the classroom as it does inside.
The Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Program is a state government initiative designed to promote healthy living, and it all starts in the school's own garden.
We're looking at food from the ground up, looking at the process from planting it, from its seed, watching it grow and develop, and then harvesting it and cooking it.
Not only can students grow fruit and vegetables, they can now grow seedlings and plants thanks to a new greenhouse.
The garden is looked after by a dedicated group known as the Eco Warriors.
Basically to look after the chickens, water the plants. We bring the compost dirt into the garden to help the garden grow.
To watch the full story or get your school involved, head to our website and we could be coming to your school.
I'm James Callahan.
And I'm Sophie Lee Berridge.
Reporting to you
for NBN News Junior Journos.
In 2004, Jetstar spread its wings to the Hunter, launching services from Newcastle Airport and further linking the region with the rest of Australia. Fast forward 10 years and the airline is pulling flights from its schedule as Newcastle Airport moves to increase the carrier's fees from October 1.
We're facing the prospect of a more than 50% increase in landing fees and passenger movement charges through Newcastle Airport. And that really concerns us because we think that will challenge the viability of a number of our services in and out of Newcastle.
The airline will cut 7 return services a week between Brisbane and Newcastle starting next month. And Jetstar CEO David Hall says if the airport presses ahead with the price hikes, the company will be forced to increase fares for passengers and consider axing more flights, while the prospect of introducing Trans-Tasman services is now off the agenda.
At the current pricing, that's absolutely off the table. We cannot contemplate having those services, and it's absolutely off the table now.
Newcastle Airport CEO Paul Hughes says the current contract with Jetstar was developed in 2004 and designed to assist in establishing the then new low-cost carrier. He adds the proposed increase is no more than $1.70 per passenger above the price set 10 years ago, something he believes is very reasonable. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
Last year, the Muswellbrook Shire contributed about $200 million in mining royalties to the state government. Now, a piece of that pie could be back on its way to the region. The big-ticket item on the government's Resources for Regions shortlist, $20 million for Muswellbrook Hospital.
Stage 1, the ED, to be finished by December. This is Stage 2, which will have a great lift for clinical services here in Muswellbrook.
These pictures show the state of the hospital's exterior. For 18 months now, community group Machine has been lobbying all levels of government to improve the facilities, which it describes as archaic.
We know it's our turn now, and we've generated the funds, the capital's in place. We just want the hospital redevelopment completed as soon as possible.
If Council is successful in acquiring funding for the hospital, it will be spent on redeveloping the clinical services area, improving conditions for staff and patients. Singleton Hospital could also see an upgrade. It's down for $7.5 million. A further 5 projects from Cessnock, Maitland, Muswellbrook, Newcastle and Singleton also made the list. The successful ones are expected to be announced by the end of the year. Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
I think it's about walking hand in hand, and one of the things that Northcote looks towards making is an inclusive society, a place where everyone has the chance and the opportunity to have their ability show.
Up close and personal with our men and women in blue. The Community Engagement Day at Newcastle's Foreshore Park offered a rare insight into the New South Wales Police Force.
Today is all about community, police interacting together, and it really allows the cops to see the community with happy smiling faces rather than, you know, aggression and whatnot that we are faced with so many times on a day-to-day basis.
Not only a chance to meet local officers, but also to learn about the important work they do. Jumping aboard the rigid hull inflatable boat used by water police was popular with young ones, as was seeing inside a police wagon.
What was it like in there, Andrew?
Fun!
The rescue squad also drew a crowd, showing the skills and equipment police employ in situations like car crashes.
A lot of people have a lot of questions for us about, are we police and what do we do? So it's a good day to get down here.
But the day was as much about education as it was demonstration, these goggles highlighting the dangers of drink driving.
It's interesting, it shows you the whole gamut of everything the police actually do. It's great to talk to the officers.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
First and foremost, we've got to make sure the players are comfortable with what's going on, and I don't want to lose a single player. Well, I haven't coached first grade for 10 years, so even though I've been involved with the club for the last 3 years with the youth development and that, I've still been in and around the place.
Back on the training paddock after Sunday's 24-point win over the Illawarra Cutters, the Knights have their eyes firmly on this weekend's prize.
I see them as favourites this weekend. We'll come in as underdogs and we're happy to wear that tag, and we're going to play to our full capability.
Newcastle will square off against minor premiers Penrith on Sunday. It will be coach Rick Stone's last hurrah before stepping back up to the NRL. But it's the retirement of the side's skipper that's really fueling the fire.
We're also saying goodbye to Matt Hilda, who will be retiring, so there's a motivation there. If you've got a skipper like that who will put his body on the line for every single player, we're just going to do the exact same for him.
Hilda's not the only one in his last New South Wales Cup performance. After a stellar hat-trick against the Cutters last weekend, winger Josh Mentalato will head to the English Super League club Hull in November.
We're all looking forward to Sunday. The place is buzzing, and hopefully it gives the town as well something to cheer about after the year that we've had.
Michael Dobson will also look to make his mark in the Super League next season, but it's still unsure if he'll make this grand final. The halfback's battling a toe injury and will be given until the last minute to prove his fitness. The New South Wales Cup winner will play the top Queensland side before the NRL Grand Final on October 5. Christy Reading, NBN News.
Utilising an iconic track, the Fernley 15 has become a must-do event on the state's running calendar.
It's a place to get away from the traffic. It's really spiritual, being in the trees, and it's a lovely place to run.
1,500 competitors are expected this year, including 120 night striders.
It's numbers, that's great, but we're also fundraising for the Hunter Melanoma Foundation.
Like the striders, the 5:30 runners have competed every year.
We're going to have the best drink station on the Fernley 15, obviously at Redhead because we love the red.
Her council has decided to sponsor the race for 3 years, but the Lake Macquarie Mayor is content to be a spectator.
What have we got to do to get you in competing in the event?
Oh, I've got to do a bit of training yet.
So 2015?
Oh, look, I make no promises that I can't keep.
Organiser Scott Westcott will compete for the first time.
I'll do a fair bit of planning, and then my plan is to duck away for a warm-up and toe the line this year and hopefully get close to a course record.
Westcott says the wheelchair race will still feature a quality field, despite the fact Kurt Fernley and Christy Dawes will be competing overseas.
It was a case of the last Liberal MP standing today, Robin Parker the lone supporter for the visiting Health Minister. In the past, Gillian Skinner's been flanked by 5 Hunter colleagues, but 4 are now political casualties of the ICAC.
Feeling a bit lonely?
I am absolutely thrilled to have my friend Robin Parker here. We have been colleagues and friends for many, many years, and look, that's just the way it is.
The Minister viewed progress at John Hunter Hospital, where 740 more car parking spaces are being created. Along with 270 spaces at the Mater, it's a $15 million project to help solve the parking headaches plaguing patients and visitors since it was built.
It's no good having a fabulous facility providing wonderful services if patients can't access it.
Meanwhile, there's still a big question mark over the hospital proposed for the Metford Brickworks site, with no word on the funding model.
We keep an open mind about how it will be operated.
The opposition wants to know where the Coalition's $20 million commitment has gone.
We've spent less than $6 million over 4 years, and there's been little detail, little scant planning, and really all we have is a sign and a block of land. That's it.
The site, as you know, has been chosen. There's work still going on in the clinical services planning process, and the next stages will be, design work and so on.
Jane Goldsmith, NBN News. Representatives of community groups met with Greens MLC David Shoebridge today, discussing how the parliamentary committee will operate and how best to present their case.
There is enormous community disquiet about these key planning decisions, and we will be looking deeply into it.
Mr Shoebridge is one of 6 on the committee appointed by the New South Wales Upper House. Along with submissions, public hearings will be held in November. Surveying work has already started for the truncation of Newcastle's rail line, despite calls to halt the project until after the by-elections and inquiry.
There's a desperation in this government to change the reality on the ground before there's been this integrity test of planning decisions in the Hunter.
In the interests of probity and good governance, this state government needs to call a halt to all of those developments. The high-rise, the closure of the railway.
Mr Shoebridge claims crossbenchers Craig Bowman and Gary Edwards should resign.
Previously, members like this would have been shamed out of office by the evidence that we heard in ICAC. But instead, they continue to draw a salary.
Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
Yeah, it's slightly disappointing, but you know, we've just got a job to do now.
Carnley Monkley is nothing short of a miracle. Deprived of oxygen during birth, he then suffered a stroke, leaving him fighting for his life. As a result, the 1-year-old has cerebral palsy, but every day this little fighter is defying the odds with a smile. Achieving everyday tasks like sitting and kneeling has taken enormous effort from his parents, Shani and Dale, coupled with extensive therapy at the Cerebral Palsy Alliance.
He's got a lot of movement in his right hand, which he used to just leave it lying there and didn't use it at all. And he's starting to actually sort of push himself into the crawling position by bringing his knees up underneath him and doing a commando crawl.
Stroke is among the top 10 causes of death in childhood. Carnley's parents want to raise awareness of that, and they're also raising money for the Cerebral Palsy Alliance through a charity ball in November, giving back to those who have changed their lives.
We sort of went from being worried that he might actually be in a wheelchair to now we're confident that he will get up and walk. So for us that's amazing, and he's going to have a normal life and be able to do everything everyone else does. So we're very, very grateful.
And it's through that generous support that we're able to provide the full range of services when we're looking at occupational therapy, physiotherapy.
To donate or buy tickets to the ball, visit Carnley's Facebook page. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
And at the moment we're focusing on recruiting volunteers and raising funds for this ship so we can commission it in Papua New Guinea next year.
We've gone for something new this year, and we've gone for subject rather than medium. The medium's like watercolour, oil and acrylic. We've gone for subject. So that's something new for us as well.
They're two of the Hunter's brightest surfing prospects, regularly travelling long distances to compete. And Jackson Baker and Madison Poole couldn't be happier to have the new Summer Surf Series show up on their doorstep. 17-year-old Baker has just completed his first season on the Under-21 Australasia Pro Junior Series.
My goal this year is to make the top 10 because it's my first year in the whole series and I ended up getting 8th, so I was really happy with that. And if I got in the top 4, I would have went to the World Juniors, so that's definitely the aim next year.
Fellow Merewether board rider 13-year-old Madison is coached by former Surf-S champion Philippa Anderson.
I'm in the women's side versus older girls and stuff, so it pushes me to get better and better and try new things and just see if I can try to do their trick and stuff like that.
The 13-event series features an under-16 and under-18 division and is designed to provide more opportunities for those on the brink of a professional career.
Sometimes you're just surfing against kids in your region, but to have kids from Queensland and Sydney and that, and some of the best kids in Australia to surf against in one comp, it's really good to push your surfing.
Baker is hoping to use his home break advantage to improve on his 4th place finish at the first event in Sydney. Poole says her goal is to simply keep on improving.
When I was young, it was always good to have someone there to look up to. We had some good captain coaches there, so I guess a bit of a role reversal there would be good to help improve some of them guys playing-wise.
After playing alongside each other in the US, Catherine Reynolds and Angela Salem have teamed up again on the other side of the world. Starring in the Jets' W League side, the pair arrived earlier this month. And already, first-time visitor Catherine likes what she sees.
Angela and I have been able to explore the city. I've tried lots of cute coffee shops and breakfast spots and markets, and yeah, it's been awesome.
Angela is no stranger to the region, starting for the Jets in 2012-2013, and she's wasted no time reasserting herself. While there was a grounding loss against the Glory last round,
the fact that we were still in the game, even though we weren't playing our best, I think is a good sign, and we could really take away some things as a team and individuals that we need to work on.
The girls are staying positive as they hope to keep the Roar winless.
We really worked on just playing out the back and just being calm on the ball and trying to find feet, not really getting into long balls. So just trying to keep possession and playing out the back.
Christy Reading, NBN News.
In October last year, the family of the Newcastle boy attended the inquest into his death, appearing to be filled with grief and anger. But they didn't return to Newcastle local court today to hear the findings of Deputy State Coroner Elaine Truscott. When detailing the 10-year-old's death, Ms Truscott said the parents had not attended his medical appointments or requirements for weight loss, and that they failed to identify he was in an extreme life-threatening state when they made the decision to take him to hospital. She added child protection intervention had been necessary and that did not occur for a number of reasons, including a lack of follow-up of the child protection team at the John Hunter Children's Hospital. A lack of understanding by Department of Family and Community Services staff of his medical condition due to inadequate records was also detailed, while Ms Truscott outlined how the Department of Education staff at his school failed to inquire whether he was receiving treatment to address his school attendance requirements. It was recommended consideration be given to the establishment of a weight management unit at the John Hunter Children's Hospital, as well as a formalised child protection unit. Professor Trish Davidson, Director of Children, Young People and Families, said Hunter New England Health will develop ways to support children with serious obesity. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
But when you look at it in the context of 300 schools and 100,000 students, those figures don't represent a major increase in any event.
Proposed cuts have threatened to take the wind out of the renewable energy movement. In reaction, a national day of rallies has attempted to fast-track the adoption of renewable energy sources.
If we do that, then there's a chance that we may be able to slow things down. But at the moment, the rate of climate change is exceeding expectations.
Activists signed an open letter to be presented to federal MP Bob Baldwin in the hope of achieving legislative action, while also ensuring their voices were heard. Richard Finlay-Jones is one of the founders of the Newcastle Clean Energy Association. They're exploring the idea of tapping into Newcastle's natural resources, including the possibility of installing wind turbines off the coast of Newcastle by attaching them to the seabed.
It's the fastest growing form of generation in the world. Offshore wind is growing at a far more rapid rate than any other form of generation.
State Greens candidate Michael Osborne says he's taking plans for renewable energy to the polls.
We're looking at more investment in renewable energy by providing that policy framework that gives the businesses and the industry certainty.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
It doesn't get much better than the Bathurst 1000 for V8 supercar fans. That includes apprentices Jacob Maxwell and Jai O'Loughlin from the Hunter Valley Training Company. The 18-year-olds are set to visit Mount Panorama for the first time next month.
I'm not quite sure who I'm more excited about to meet, but it should be good to meet all the big names and, have a talk to them about what it's like to race, and yeah, I'm stoked.
Jacob, a second-year mechanical fitter, and Jai, a first-year diesel mechanic, will assist in the repairs and maintenance of up to 6 utes at the event as part of the Cedars racing team. They had the chance to inspect one of the vehicles, which will be driven by Jeremy Gray.
I think these guys will realise what the opportunity they've got over the weekend. It's just amazing to be there, a part of a race team on a Bathurst 1000 weekend.
An experience these young tradies are unlikely to forget.
I'm definitely excited. It'd be a good opportunity just to get down there and see what else happens down there. And just learn a bit more about time management, things that go on in the engine and how the cars are set up.
The Bathurst 1000 gets underway on October 9. Renee Feder, NBN News.
A quilt brings people together. It may not be a Rembrandt, it may not be a Norman Lindsay, but it's been made with love by the Women's Auxiliaries of New South Wales.
Bouncing back from a 7-game losing streak mid-season, the Knights have certainly fallen into line.
I think we had to go through a little bit of that difficult period to actually realise, how much do we want it. And since that point was there, we've sort of come on in leaps and bounds.
They've won their last 9 encounters to make Sunday's decider against minor premiers Penrith. And with the return of a number of players from first-grade duties, coach Rick Stone is feeling confident.
Defence is going to be a massive part, and hanging on to the footy and being able to build pressure against a good quality opposition is important.
Newton hopes to take up a mentoring role at the Knights next season, but isn't ruling anything out.
My body still feels good, so there's every chance I'll still be playing, so might not be my last game just yet.
But not everyone's 100%. Halfback Michael Dobson remains in doubt.
Yeah, he's got some bruising just under the big toe, and obviously that's causing him some discomfort, and it's pretty hard for him to take off at the moment.
Tamana Tahu is one of a handful of players who'll play their last game for the Knights on Sunday. But as for where his future playing career lies, Europe could hold the answer.
Nothing's cemented in yet, but I should find out in the next week or two.
The New South Wales Cup Grand Final gets underway at 3:10 on Sunday at Allianz Stadium. Christy Reading, NBN News.
I just popped something in my hip and I wasn't even, just getting the milk. I'm not even lying, that's the funny thing.
How do you think the Jets are going to go this season?
They're going to just beat everyone.
Next Saturday she'll run in the Turnbull Stakes, 2,000 metres at Flemington, which is a Group 1 race, but it's traditionally a good lead into a Caulfield Cup. She'll only have 3 lead-up runs into a Caulfield Cup, but she's a light frame filly, and I think it's the right preparation for her.
It's a major piece of Singleton's CBD revitalisation puzzle, and soon tenders will be called for the $2.9 million upgrade of Ryan Avenue, linking the CBD with the nearby sporting fields and river.
There will be extra pedestrian crossings as well, and as I said, improved lighting, and there'll be improved turnways as well.
The roadway will also be resurfaced.
It's about making sure that the road surface is suitable for the long term for heavy vehicle traffic.
Council is offering businesses the chance to spruce up their own slice of the CBD by offering grants of up to $550.
This is just an extra incentive, and with the revitalisation of the main street, it's all going to come together.
People can use it to improve their facade, they can make improvements to their awnings, overall decor at the front, quite a variety of things.
Meanwhile, upgrades to the town's gym and swim complex are also forging ahead, with tenders closed for the complex's car park extension.
The external design, we've now got a much clearer sense of what that's going to be, and we expect within the week to have both of those finalised.
Christy Reading, NBN News. The Sisters of Mercy Convent could very well be Singleton's best-kept secret. Architecturally, the 105-year-old building is just as magnificent inside as it is on the out and holds a very special place in local history.
They have run schools from kindergarten through primary school and through into St Catherine's College, as it was before.
Once home to tens of nuns who've also been paramount in the establishment of Calvary healthcare across the state, now only 3 call the convent home.
There is an awareness that the number of sisters who are here, living here in the convent, are diminishing all the time, and the day will come when maybe there won't be any here at all.
It's prompted a working group to investigate how the heritage-listed buildings, including a chapel built in 1925, could be maintained and remain financially sustainable in the future.
If it changes too dramatically, we'll lose that. And there's very few places in Australia as well preserved as this convent complex is.
Already, extensive community consultation has taken place, and it appears promoting the complex as a centre for adult education. Events like weddings in the arts are leading the charge.
Through that, there have been many concerts, many beautiful concerts that have been conducted in the chapel and other parts of the buildings. We've also had theatrical productions here and exhibitions, sculpture and painting and whatever.
The working group aims to have a master plan ready to present to the Sisters of Mercy Institute within the next 12 months. Christy Reading, NBN News.
Times are tough and we found out late that our funding wasn't available, so we've just relied on the business. And as you can see, what a magnificent event that Newcastle businesses have put on.
She may be known for her how-to book on quitting sugar, but today was all about tips on saving food and money.
I actually got one organic chicken, and organic chickens can be quite expensive, but I showed how you can actually stretch it to make 15 different meals. And you can do that once you know how to work with minimising food wastage.
The best-selling author says more people are starting to focus on looking after themselves.
I think that people are really mindful of these issues now. They're realising that to get control of their health and their family's health, they've got to learn to cook.
Locals were also prompted to join the state government's Love Food Hate Waste program, which hopes to sign up 1,000 people for a waste challenge.
The whole idea is to reduce the amount of food that goes to landfill and save dollars for people.
and there were plenty of people making the pledge.
I've signed up for a 6-month program where they give you hints and helpful tips on how to save food so that you're not wasting leftovers.
Food stalls and eco-displays also provided some smart ideas on those wanting to make a difference.
They are really stalls aimed at having the smallest possible footprint that we can have on our environment.
Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
It's called the Summer Surf Series, but conditions today proved to be anything but. Cold and windy, competitors struggled to link together consistent scores in the small, messy conditions. After finishing 4th in last week's series event in DY, Merewether's Jackson Baker was determined to finish even better. He wasted no time getting on the board in his round 1 heat, working the inconsistent conditions to post a 5.73. Baker backed that up with another solid score, posting a 5.2 to book his place in the quarterfinals. Yamba's James Young produced a late 7.5 to take out the heat, the surfing on show even impressing the most ardent of judges.
I've been surfing against James since we were both like 11 and 12 and both going through the junior ranks together, and we've both been improving together and both been surfing really well. So yeah, he's definitely one to watch in this event.
Baker acted selectively with his wave choice in the heat, only catching 3 waves in the 20 minutes.
Just the high tide got the better of the waves out there, but there's still waves breaking. It was really contestable and yeah, it was fun.
In the women's draw, Avoca's Macy Callahan has cemented her title as the one to beat, recording a huge win in her round 1 heat. Callahan recorded a 2-wave score of 13.2, more than 10 points clear of her nearest rival. The competition will resume tomorrow morning, starting with the quarterfinals. Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
Not a surprise to the people who have been following Jason, like nearly winning the Australian titles, being a part of the Speedway World Cup team representing Australia and being virtually the top point scorer.
Oh, he's probably 50-50 at this stage, I'd say. Well, no, a little bit more. He's going to have a light run in Sydney. He had to go to Sydney today to see a specialist, and he'll have a light run the Savo down in Sydney when we get down there.
Open for business, but
For how long?
Well, certainly there's a lot of confusion in the community because of the controversy in the last season or two. Some people believe the pool is actually shut.
Beresfield Pool was on the brink of closure a few months ago, but has been given a stay of execution of sorts. Newcastle Council has leased its 4 other pools, but excluded Beresfield from the tender process. Many think it's because Council is intent on shutting it. But if today's turnout is anything to go by, the community very much wants it to stay open.
Yeah, without the pool, the kids would have nothing to do. So, yeah, we have 6 kids, so we like to send them somewhere where it's safe. So this is it.
The price of fuel these days to get your kids to the beach and stuff.
They used to walk around Beresfield with a tin can collecting money to build this facility. So this is a facility that has been built by the people of Beresfield for the people of Beresfield and the broader community.
A record number of submissions have been received for a Labor-led motion to slash entry fees, a move designed to keep the pool open.
It is actually a long-term plan to attract people to use this facility on a daily basis.
It's hoped the move to cut adult tickets from $5 to $2.80 will be rubber-stamped by Council next month. Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
We're trying to use old bikes and old ideals of basically being a gentleman. So
yeah,
we're trying to bring back those sort of ideals into society as well.
Classic and elegance.
Yes.
The Knights went into the clash full of confidence, but it was a horror start to the grand final, with Penrith on the board inside the first 5 minutes. After winning the Queensland Cup with the Mackay Cutters last year, Matt Minto was determined to produce another premiership. But Newcastle spent most of the first half on its own line, and when faced with a third set in defence, the holes opened up. The Panthers were in again soon after, albeit in controversial circumstances. Michael Dobson could only watch on from the stands as the Knights struggled to create opportunities in attack. At the other end, the Panthers had no such problem. In the second half, it looked like it would be more of the same, but the video referee came to Newcastle's rescue. There was no saving the Knights from the next one, however, Walker Blake scoring the easiest of tries. Newcastle hit back to spark hopes of a turnaround, but they were short-lived. From there, Penrith ran away with the match, kicking off the celebrations early. Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
You could ask my boyfriend.
Cousins, yeah. You could ask Jay's boyfriend, but
No.
he's my mate. So.
It's not really what you want to see as the weather warms up. And it's going to be like this around Newcastle and Nobbies for the next 6 months.
The net benefit to the community for the 6 months of irritation is really worth it.
That benefit, according to council, is a much wider pedestrian pathway from the Nobbies car park right through to Newcastle Beach and a dedicated cycleway, meaning traffic will be restricted to one way. But unlike during construction, once complete, there'll actually be an increase in car spaces. Just as it was at Merewether, these works are being done at the busiest time of the year here at the beach, but we're being told they simply have to be done now or the funding will expire.
The grant starts now and needs to be spent by early 2015. So unless we do these works, we'll lose the $5.5 million grant.
Plans for the next stage from South Newcastle Beach to King Edward Park have been shortlisted for Resources for Regions funding, but not the main commercial and economic driver of the entire project. Plans for a new surf club pavilion.
That's where we would link the beach across the road through Pacific Park into Hunter Street, and all of that public domain works now are up in the air because we don't actually have the surf club pavilion shortlisted as part of that grant process.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
That will see planning and construction of the Pennant Street Bridge and guarantee completion of the realignment and extension of Glendale Drive and the extension of Stockland Drive.
It's the 24-hour pathology lab which can fit into a handbag, a small gadget that's saving lives in rural hospitals. In the past, emergency patients at Cessnock have waited 2 hours or more for pathology results to be done via Maitland, but this new device takes just seconds.
Have a couple of hours in an emergency situation, and these devices allow on-the-spot results, somewhere between 10 seconds and up to 10 minutes, to give vital information for clinicians to make potentially life-saving decisions.
Clinical nurse educator Robin Mears believes it's one of the best innovations for rural hospitals she's seen in her 55-year career. She says for emergency patients with chest pain, early diagnosis is vital.
Now we have a definitive test that'll tell us whether someone's haemoglobin's low, whether they've got a clotting problem, or whether they're a septic patient, a cardiac patient. So it means we've got the results fast.
New South Wales Health Pathology has rolled out the testing systems to EDs in 12 public hospitals in the Hunter and 28 across Hunter New England Area Health. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
It's unusually warm today and it's forecast to be even warmer tomorrow. However, we've had pretty good rain leading up to these couple of days, and it is forecast to change back to cooler weather on Wednesday. So not overly concerned, certainly not like we were last year.
Newcastle Police took to the streets this morning, marching to a different beat. The show of force was all about remembrance. In Newcastle, they marched from Wolfe Street to Christchurch Cathedral, with similar services being carried out right across the country. All the while, their minds on those no longer by their side.
But also an opportunity for the community to hopefully reflect and realise that the police are here to serve them, to keep them safe.
Alongside the region's politicians, the families of those lost.
I think it is an opportunity for them to gather together to help in that grieving process, because it must be tough on a daily basis, realising their loved ones aren't going to come home at the end of the day.
For the officers in attendance, today provided a stark reminder of the dangers involved with the job, one they remain firmly committed to.
Police are the ones who stand between the community and those that want to break the law, and we continue to do that with pride on a daily basis.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.